In our last update, we had one support level and two scenarios. The first scenario was that we would jump into our support at 117.4 to then see a bounce to the upside and a break back above these highs. But the second scenario was that we would jump into our support level, so again 117.4, see a small bounce to the upside, but then continue lower to take out the range lows and hit our target at $113,300. Now, if you go over to the charts, you can see that we did hit our support level, 117.4. And if you remember what I said in my update was that in both of these scenarios, even in this bearish scenario, I was interested in longing this level simply because in both cases, I believed that we would get a bounce. And as you can see, that's exactly what happened. We jumped into our support. We got a very nice bounce to the upside, two very nice bounces actually, and then continue lower, but unfortunately failed to reach our support level. So with that said, very quickly, before I dive into today's price action, I want to quickly recap what I personally did. So very simple for my trade. Again, I waited for my level, 117.4. We had a very nice drop, if this can load, so we had a very nice drop with very nice volume. We had two imbalances on the 30 minutes, but also on the hourly chart. So right there, this was on Binance. We had two hourly imbalances. We jumped into my level. We tapped it with very nice volume. I took my long position, which was in pretty nice profits at first, and it did actually continue higher. But unfortunately, this high and this big drop to the downside were all done in the Asian session, and that's unfortunately when I sleep, so I wasn't able to implement a take profit one. So I just got stopped out of my long position for a break-even trade pretty much. Okay, so pretty unfortunate. I was in the long. We got the move up that I was waiting for. This would have been a very nice take profit in my opinion, or maybe very simply after having seen this 30-minute imbalance, this would have been a nice take profit. But again, unfortunately, this happened during the Asian session. In any case, a break-even trade, so not a big problem. So then after this, even though we did see another bounce to the upside, personally, I didn't really like that low, which is why I didn't want to do anything, okay? I didn't want to enter a new long position. So I just waited, and again, remaining patient was the right play because we simply continued to the downside. And then at this point, I did believe that we would front on $113,000. This was on Friday, okay? This was on Friday. So I gave a new level, which was $116,000. I simply wanted to see a drop into it for a strong bounce to the upside. So we got the drop. I took my long position. We got a nice bounce at first, as you can see from this wick, but unfortunately price reversed to the downside and I took a loss on this trade. But in the end, if we go over to the charts, Friday did actually end up offering the low. If you remember, my support level was right there. So I was just a bit early on my long position. We just ended up getting a double bottom before reversing to the upside. So in any case, with all of that said, pretty decent analysis overall. Again, this support level offered two very good bounces. And on Friday, I still think this was a good level. A double bottom was a bit hard to predict. But in any case, what's happening right now and what can you expect next? Well, today it's pretty simple in my opinion. We've had this very strong move up to the upside, and overall I am still expecting higher prices because of the Elliott wave count. If you remember, I had one main count, which was a 1, 2. This is still a wave 3, so you still have the high of wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5. And even if this was the high of wave 3, this would still be a wave 4, maybe this was the low, or maybe you have one more low, but then you still have a wave 5 to the upside to make one more all-time high. So overall, I am still leaning bullish. And with that said, I have two scenarios in mind. Now, what happened on this high? Again, very simple. We simply filled this partially filled hourly imbalance. As you can see, we moved into it, rejected it, and now we are seeing a move to the downside. So again, imbalances are dictating what's happening. But apart from that, what I can see right there is that we have a pretty ugly low, not only on the hourly chart, but also on the 30 minutes chart. So right now, I do want to take this low, and we do have an imbalance right there that you could be aware of. So if you want, mark out this level. But personally, I just want to be aware of the liquidity below that low. So how can you play around this? Well, at this point, I do see two scenarios that could come into play. The first one would be that we drop into this level and then we see a bounce to the upside. However, If this happens, I would actually look for another drop to the downside to potentially hit our support level at $113,300. And the reason for that is because if you go on the daily, you have a pretty ugly wick right there that I would expect to get filled. And as you can see, my support level doesn't fill that wick. So if you go back on the hourly, the target for this move up would be, this would be on Binance actually, okay, would be this hourly candle. I forgot if we had a 4 hour, so let's check quickly. We don't have a 4 hour, but you have a pretty nice hourly imbalance right there. So I just want to mark this one on Bybit because that's where I do my analysis. It was this one. And if you go on the 30 minutes, you also have this imbalance right there. So I would simply take this area, which comes in around $121,500. I would take this area, and this would be my overall target for this move to the upside, okay? So let's extend this. And that's what I would look for my first scenario. It would be, again, a drop to take out this ugly low, reverse to the upside, hit this resistance, and then potentially come back down to our support to then see another bounce to the upside, okay? So this would be the first scenario that I have in mind. But the second one would be, if I actually fix this, my bad. So let's just put it like this for now. Second scenario would be that this actually doesn't offer much of a bounce, okay? So maybe we get something like this, but then we just continue lower to again hit the same level and then get a bounce to the upside, okay? So this would be my second scenario. I do have to admit, I'm not the biggest fan of this one simply because I think the timing is a bit off. It is possible and I will keep an eye on it, but my first and preferred scenario would be a drop into this level, a bounce to the upside, and then a rejection lower to hit the support level and then come back up. And of course, if we do break that resistance, very simply, we can hold on to this long position that we took down there for a new all-time high on Bitcoin, okay? So with all of that said, that was mainly it for this update. A pretty simple one. All I want to focus on today, or maybe tomorrow if the move doesn't come today, would be this ugly low at $117,200. I do believe that this one will be taken out. So if you can drop into it with imbalances, get a nice reaction, I will open a new long position for a potential bigger move to the upside to hit this resistance. And from there, we can see what happens. Do we get a nice rejection and a big drop to the downside, or very simply, do we actually continue higher for a new all-time high? So as usual, if you guys enjoyed this update, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.